I'm going to be cooking fried cabbage with smoked sausage. And the ingredients are got a little garlic powder, chopped onions, got some garlic, bacon, Tony Chachere's, chopped up smoked sausage, and the star of the dish, some chopped up cabbage. So we'll start out in a warmed Dutch oven here. I'm going to go ahead and put my bacon in here and start rendering down this bacon so that I can really use the grease off of the bacon fat. That's what's going to be key to this dish. So go ahead and put that in there, stir it around, and get that cooked off real good. Render off all that fat that we can get out of it. Now, I'm not going to cook this really crispy. I'm just going to make sure that we have enough of this bacon fat to fry up our cabbage in. So now we'll go ahead and remove the rendered bacon. We'll put it on a little plate with some napkins on it to absorb the oils and the greases that's left in that. And the only thing that's going to be left in the bottom of this pot is bacon grease. Good old bacon grease. You can't beat that for cooking. So I'll go ahead and finish off pulling this bacon out of the pot. One thing I will tell you guys, that if you're using any kind of a Dutch oven or nonstick cooking ware, be sure that you're using a wooden spoon or a plastic spoon. Metal on these pots is not something you want to do. You really scratch up and scar your surface on your pots. You pay good money for the pot, you might as well use it like you should. So there's our bacon. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is go ahead and grab the smoked sausage, and I'm going to drop that into the pot. The smoked sausage, I've got 1 pound of that. Cut it in about 1/4-inch little cubes or medallions, whatever you want to call it. And you're welcome to use whatever kind of sausage you want to use. I like using smoked sausage. It really adds a flavor. And here you can see we're rendering off the fats and the juices out of this sausage. I'm not going to really brown it too good. Just going to basically warm it up, get a little bit of brown around the edges of it. Now all that you see on the bottom of that pan, that's the good stuff right there. When you cook that cabbage, all that stuff that's sitting on the bottom of that pan is going to add flavor to the cabbage. So next step, what I'll do is go ahead and add my onions. And we'll render the onions down. And I, of course, chopped these onions. This is a Vidalia onion, probably about a medium size. I didn't want to cut them too small because if you let them cook too long, they tend to want to just kind of disappear. They cook down to nothing. So I rough chopped the onions so that at least it's still there when you're done with the dish. So I'll let this cook down. I'm not going to really cook the onion too far. I'm almost to the point of translucent color. That way when I add the cabbage to this pot, now this is 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. I'll throw that in the pot right before I add my cabbage and let that kind of cook in there before I add the cabbage. That way, the last thing you want to do is burn your garlic. So we'll put that in there and let that kind of release its flavors into the onion and the sausage. Just stir that around a little bit. Next step, what I'll do is start adding some of my seasonings. Now the seasonings are very few. I'm going to add about a teaspoon of salt to start with, and maybe a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. Then I'll go ahead and put some of that garlic powder. I'm not going to use the whole thing right here. I'm just going to add a little bit of the garlic powder. Retain some for putting on top of the cabbage after I put the cabbage in place. So stir that seasoning around, always keeping it moving. That prevents that garlic from burning. And as you can see, everything is coming together real good. I'm doing a voiceover on this, but I'm going to tell you what, I can still smell that. That is just the onion, all the seasonings, and that sausage in there with the garlic. Man, that really smells good. It smells wonderful. It truly does. Now we'll just grab the cabbage, and I'm going to put in half of my cabbage. As you can see, I rinsed this cabbage off really good after I chopped it up, and I kind of rough chopped it. It's actually bite-sized pieces of cabbage. Rinsed it off, put it in the colander, and just kind of let it dry a little bit so that I wasn't putting a whole lot of moisture in this. Remember, this is fried cabbage, so otherwise it would be, smothered cabbage. So go ahead and I'll keep putting some cabbage in here. Like I said, I'm going to put about half of what I have in the colander in for now. And it's important that you season your food. And what I do is I season in layers. Now, I've just added all this raw cabbage in there. There's no salt, pepper, seasonings. So I'm going to add some of this Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. And to start with, I'm going to add about a teaspoon to this first layer of cabbage. And then I'll go ahead and add a little bit more salt. And maybe another teaspoon of that. I'll add another teaspoon of the black pepper. And then that's one layer. And I'll let that kind of steam down. And then what I'll do is I'll come behind and I'll put the remainder of my cabbage in the pot. So just give this a good stir. Incorporate everything, all the flavors, the juices from the bacon grease and the sausage and the onion. Just really get a good coating on every piece of cabbage that's in the pot so that everything is in the pool, everything is getting wet, and everything is getting seasoned. And as you can see, that sausage is got a really nice color to it. It's released, and we're still releasing some of its smoky flavor into the cabbage. And I've just about got that good and stirred up. So I think now we'll go ahead and add the rest of the cabbage to the pool. And now everybody's in the pool, except for one thing. Remember that bacon that I took out of the pot earlier after we rendered the fat off of it? Still have that sitting to the side. So I'll go ahead and stir this up again. But remember, I just put another layer of cabbage in here, so I need to go ahead and season the second layer. Seasoning in layers, that's what we're doing. Everything you add needs to have seasoning. The remainder of my garlic powder, I'll go ahead and put that in the pool with everything. Every drop counts. Give it another good stir. And by now that crock pot has really gotten warm. That's a nice thing about a Dutch oven, is that it's even heat all the way around. I really love cooking in that Dutch oven. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on this and steam it for about 10 minutes. That's right, 10 minutes. 10. And after 10 minutes, you're going to build up a lot of steam in there. That lid's pretty hot. We'll go ahead and you can see even touching it was not very fun. So go ahead and stir the pot. Get everything moved around. Everything's incorporated, and I can promise you, from when I was cooking this absolutely smelled fantastic. It was a wonderful smell. And here you go. This is the finished product, except for what we just did. All that rendered bacon, threw it in the pan, threw it in the pot, added it to the pool. Everybody's in the pool for sure now. So I'll just stir this around, get some of that bacon flavor infused even more so than what the bacon grease did. So now we have the bacon, the smoked sausage, the Creole seasoning, the garlic, salt, pepper, add bacon grease, bacon fat. Fat is flavor. And trust me, this has got flavor. All right, so everybody's getting mixed up in the pool, coming together beautifully. You can see everything looks great. The cabbage is cooked down. All that's left now is to give it a good taste. And I'm here to tell you, this is a flavor that is so rich and flavorful, you wouldn't believe it. You really have to try this dish. Now I'll just go ahead and get a bowl and plate me up some of this good, delicious fried cabbage with smoked sausage and sit back and enjoy it. Now, one of the things you can do with this is if you want to add some rice, go ahead and cook you up a pot of rice and you can pour this over rice. Another thing to do is you can eat it just like it is and just make up some cornbread. Sit down at the table with the fried cabbage and smoked sausage and a good chunk of cornbread with some good butter. That's a meal that'll fill you up, warm your heart, and you will be very happy with it. Thank you, guys. This is the finished dish. Fried cabbage with smoked sausage, Southern style. This is Dan Giles with Cooking Up Grub. I'll see you next time.